Good evening. Welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Lynbrook Board of Education for January 11th. If we can all please rise. Mr. Pileski will lead us in the pledge of the flag. Roll call or pleasant. If no one has any comments or changes, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of the December 7th, 2022 regular meeting? Mr. Murray, second. Ms. Wesky, all in favor? Mrs. Danino is abstaining. Mr. Kunz, Art Gallery, please.
The Burns-Siderman Gallery is proud to present the January 2023 show featuring recent work from LHS art teachers Mr. Kunz, Mr. Lantini, and Mr. Senna. On the left side of the gallery, Mr. Kunz's recent work explores the subject matter of classic storefronts. Through this subject matter, Mr. Kunz combines his love for typography and color while evoking a sense of nostalgia. Each piece is rendered in marker, colored pencil, and acrylic paint. The work is finished with computer-cut horizontal and vertical lines. These vinyl lines add an element of geometric abstraction and rhythm to the composition. On the back wall, Mr. Senna's current series, Warriors and Demons, explores imagery associated with traditional Japanese mythology. Using multiple techniques, he creates these detailed wood carvings using a Dremel tool, as well as traditional Japanese carving tools. Each carving is then hand-painted in acrylic and water-based black ink, then sealed with clear marine-grade varnish. On the right side, the landscapes and reflections in Mr. Lantini's paintings are representative of how people perceive and experience the distortion of water reflections. From the vantage point of a rainy roadway or a steamy shower, we see the distortions of reality in the wet reflections. Additionally, Mr. Lantini's work deals with the relationship between surface and depth, flatness and illusion, and are based on real-life experiences. Please take a moment to enjoy this month's show. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kunz. For presentations, turning over to Dr. Burek.
Oh, is Sebi here? Do I see him? No. Okay. All righty. So we have an all-state team from the soccer team. Sebi, as we all call him, Cuenca, has been awarded all-state honors for his accomplishments during the 2022 soccer season. He is I'm not done. He was one of 9 selected for Nassau County boys soccer. He led the county on total points and was tied for the most goals in the county. He is only the second Lynbrook High School boy from the soccer team and 3rd overall soccer player to earn such a distinction as far as we have records for. He was also named Newsday All Long Island, 2nd team, which we also believe is a first for a Lynbrook male soccer player. And I know personally I was there to witness your hat trick on the field, which was an amazing thing. So Sebi is an amazing soccer player and has earned all of these recognitions that he is being recognized for this evening. So Sebi, congratulations, you make us proud. Nope. Don't go.
Sebi.
Not to be outdone by soccer. If anyone has been following our girls basketball team, you know over the past couple of years we have had an extremely talented girls basketball team. Watching them claim victory time and time again is always a proud moment for us in Lynbrook, and that solid team and their hard work and dedication has afforded their coach the opportunity to actually earn 100 wins, which is a milestone for a coach. Wait, I didn't call him up yet. I don't know what's going on. So with that, we congratulate Coach LaCicero.
We also have one new addition this evening. If Irene Munez can please stand up. Congratulations on being appointed this evening as an E&L teacher at the high school and North Middle School. Congratulations. So, I'm going to read a statement at this time. As you are aware, Dr. Burek has announced her intent to retire at the conclusion of this coming school year. After 30 years in Lynbrook, we wish Dr. Burek well in her next chapter of life and thank her for her dedication and commitment to our schools, students, and community. Following her announcement, the board reviewed our options, discussed our next steps, and analyzed the qualities we were looking for in the ideal candidate. At that time, we were all in agreement that our next leader wasn't going to be difficult to find. He was already right here. With that, and on behalf of the entire Board of Education, it is my sincere pleasure to announce that Dr. Paul Lynch will be appointed as the Lynbrook School District Superintendent of Schools effective July 1st, 2023. Terry, I should really just leave it like that, but let me give you a little bit about Dr. Lynch. For the past 10 years, Dr. Lynch has been serving as the District Assistant Superintendent for Finance, Operations, and Information Systems. Before assuming the role of Assistant Superintendent, he was the District's Director of Communications, Technology, and Library Media Services for 4 years. Prior to coming to Lynbrook, Dr. Lynch was Associate Superintendent for Public Policy and Government Programs at the Archdiocese of New York, where he was responsible for executive and legislative advocacy at the national and state levels. Throughout his career, Dr. Lynch has worked in many capacities, including as Director of Technology for the Diocese of Rockville Center, Director of Education Services at BOSCOM, and English Department Chairperson at St. John the Baptist High School. Dr. Lynch began his career in education as an English teacher at St. Mary's High School, and for the past 24 years, has maintained a close relationship with Fordham University, where he has worked as an adjunct assistant professor teaching doctoral and master's level courses. Dr. Lynch holds a Bachelor of Arts from Cathedral College, a Master of Arts from Immaculate Conception Seminary, and a doctorate in education leadership, administration, and policy from Fordham University. Congratulations, Dr. Lynch. We look forward to working with you in your new role. If board members have anything to say, Mrs. Marcus.
So I vividly remember back in 2009 when we interviewed Dr. Lynch for his first position in the district, and he wowed us. We knew that he was a great fit for Lynbrook and that he was destined for greatness, and he has had many years to be mentored by Dr. Burak, and we definitely, feel very confident and happy that he is going to be taking on this next role within the district, and we look forward to working with him.
We all know that Lynbrook is a really special community, and Dr. Lynch embodies Lynbrook. He is so passionate about our community, about our children, and working with him in this capacity, I am always amazed at how much he involves himself and how passionate and just how much he cares. He gives it his all in everything he does, and I just can't wait to see, what the future holds for him in this position.
And, it's going to be difficult to replace someone who's been a superintendent for as long as Dr. Burak has been here. But because Dr. Lynch has been with her almost that entire way, I think that transition is going to be really smooth, and I think that's really important. Our district is in such a good place, and we want to keep it there and keep it growing, and Dr. Lynch is very well positioned for that. Also, he has an unusual background, like Dr. Burak did, where he is both an instructor and educator with the business side, and there are very few superintendents who have both of those backgrounds, and it's really nice that we are going to have two of them in a row. So I'm excited for all that's going to keep happening here in this wonderful town.
So I first met Dr. Lynch in the fall of 2020, which was a very tumultuous time for all of us. It was the COVID crisis. And I was not in the role of a board member, but I was a parent on the other side of this table who was being a loudmouth pain in the neck trying to push the school to reopen. And the district formed a committee that was made up of a bunch of different people and different factions within the community. And in the middle of it all was Dr. Lynch. And he really, that was my first experience with him, but the committee we were on was emotional, contentious. Everyone had different strong opinions. And I really attribute so much of the success to that committee to Dr. Lynch's demeanor, his perseverance. Rather than allowing people to tear apart and come at it from different sides, Dr. Lynch kept bringing the committee back to where we could agree. And I think that personal touch and just his overall passion and dedication and refusal to accept no as an answer was incredible then. And then sitting on this side of the table, getting to know Dr. Lynch in a different capacity, continually impressed with how intelligent and how thoughtful he is and how incredibly facile he is with the numbers related to this district. And I think that he brings so much to the table that it's very excited to be working with him.
I would just like to say that Dr. Burak has big shoes to fill, and in the same vein, you have big shoes to fill in the business superintendent position. That's going to be a tough decision for us going forward. This to me seems like a really good seamless transition. You pay attention to every detail, and that in a district this big is something that is hard to find. You have a wonderful respect for everyone you're near and talk to, and I don't think that goes unnoticed. And from what I've seen in my 2 years on the board, you continually do things the right way, and that tends to, make a hell of an impression on people.
I just want to say congratulations to Dr. Lynch. I think your experience, your knowledge, your personality, and your vision is going to be a great asset for the future of Lynbrook.
I get the last word. So 10 years ago, when I assumed the official role of superintendent, like Mr. Pileski just said, you have to fill the shoes then of the assistant superintendent for business. And unless you sit in that chair, you don't realize just how important that position is. We are We take our role as stewards of the taxpayers' money very seriously here in Lynbrook. And when you're a superintendent, and that has been your baby for over a decade, when I was assistant superintendent, there were three things I looked for. And one was intelligence. You have to have a head on your shoulders. You have to think logically. Number two is ethics. You must be an ethical person when you're dealing with a large sum of money that people have entrusted you so that you use it wisely for the education of their children. And above all, honesty. If you're not honest with the superintendent, with the staff, with the community, people smell it right away. And you know you would, right? So those are the three things that were so important to me. I needed to be able to trust my assistant superintendent, someone who had all of those qualities. So I was basically put in a position, and we went through the process, but I handpicked Dr. Lynch and asked him, please, would you apply for this position? Because I knew that I had all of those things in Dr. Lynch. So I was fortunate that he said yes, and now even more fortunate that 10 years later, the board agrees, and we'll be appointing him tonight for the superintendency. So I'm very proud of you. I thank you for rising to the occasion and answering the call 10 years ago, and best of luck as you move forward.
So two more things to make it official. I'll begin with the resolution 2301G38. Be hereby resolved that the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District accepts the resignation of Dr. Paul J. Lynch as Assistant Superintendent for Finance, Operation, and Information Systems effective June 30th, 2023. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education appoints Dr. Paul J. Lynch as Superintendent of Schools effective July 1st, 2023, on the terms and conditions set forth in an employment agreement dated January 11th, 2023. And be it further resolved that the Board authorizes the Board President to execute said employment agreement on behalf of the Board. I haven't signed it yet, Paul. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2301G38 appointing Dr. Paul Lynch as Superintendent of Schools? Mr. Murray, second. Mrs. Danino, all in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Turn on the microphone. I want to start by thanking the board for its tremendous confidence in me. I thank you very much for the wonderful words you just said. I'm a little verklempt here, just hearing all those things, but thank you for that confidence, because I think that confidence is what is going to be needed in our future relationship. I'd like to thank my wife, Jean, who's sitting in the front row. It's a change in our family's life. There'll be a lot more commitment to this district and to night events, and I've had her full support, and I wouldn't have done it without it. My brother and sister-in-law, my niece and nephew are here. I also thank them, and I know there are people watching on the live stream. The staff is here from the business office. It's just, it's very moving to see you all here tonight. So I want to thank you for that. Thank you for the support. I'm a 58-year-old guy who was born in Baldwin, Long Island, so it will not surprise you if I start my tenure quoting Billy Joel. So there is a song that from one of his early albums on Turnstiles. I'm glad the kids just left, because the lyrics aren't exactly all, they're not PG-13. But there's a great line, and it says, "Now, before we end and then begin, let's drink a toast to how it's been." And I'd be remiss if not starting my tenure as superintendent to acknowledge Dr. Melissa Burak's 30 years in this district, 10 years in the role of superintendent. I have been around this district a little while, and I think everyone in this district could say we've been on rocket fuel for the last 10 years. And this district, just right down to, I love that the Regeneron came in on the day before before you moved to, this announcement today. So I think we all deserve to give her our thanks before we begin the next stage in our life together. So thank you, Melissa.
Okay, so just a few words about our future together as we start this path. I think it's very, to go back to that path that Melissa sent and the superintendents before them. We stand on great shoulders here in Lynbrook. And I think, when the board makes a decision to pull inside and go for an owl to do the job and to say, you know what, we're going to look for someone inside to do the job, it is not so much speaking about me, and I don't want to say, don't worry, I'm qualified for the job. I've been around for a little while. I've been in the job for 35 years in this business, 40% of my time here in Lynbrook. But I think it is much more a testament of who we are and who this community is. There are fantastic, incredible things happening in this district. And what I think this board is saying tonight is let's continue those fantastic and incredible things. Let's continue to be who we've been all this time as we move into the next stage of our life. And, I'm glad, Mr. Lunar, I'm glad you brought it up. When we were in this room just a few months ago, it was probably as hot as I've ever seen this room. And all of us who were here know exactly what it looked like. There were literally two sides, the room was filled, and passions were high. But you know what I think Lynbrook did right that a lot of other districts did not do right? We knew in our heart of hearts that we were in it together. And people got to that microphone and they were never closed down and they were never shut up, and people expressed strong opinions, and we all knew that if we hung in this room, it was gonna work out because we're doing it together. And that is what the board's appointing tonight. It's nice that I'm the symbol of that appointment, and I take it very seriously from you, but I really want the community to know, my friends over there at PTA, my friends from LASA, Mr. Kirschenberg in the back, the LTA, I see Ms. Prendergast from the TAA, everyone is here tonight to celebrate this event. That's what they're endorsing. They're endorsing us. They're endorsing together. So we're gonna move on together. So I'm only gonna make one promise tonight, and I'm actually gonna read it. So it's obviously a prepared statement. So there's kind of like a throwaway line in my contract that I think is kind of like, with all due respect to Mr. Feldman over there, it's probably one of those like the things that they say, all right, you know what, just throw in that line. But you know what, I just want you to hear it from my lips. And the line is, the superintendent shall devote his full time and attention to the employment herein. That is my promise tonight. I am all yours. I'm going to give you my full time and attention. And I wish the kids hadn't left because I'm going to put you all on warning. I have missed them because I have been sitting at a desk because it's my job to look at spreadsheets. Ladies, you know I love you. Spreadsheets no more. It's into classrooms. It's into instruction. I am pumped to do this job. Thank you so much for the appointment.
So why doesn't the board come up and we'll take a picture with Dr. Lynch? Before we move on to report from trustees, we could take a few minutes for those that are in attendance on Dr. Lynch's behalf. You can go prepare for the celebration after the meeting if you like. Or you do.
And I'm not going to be there because we're going back into executive session.
We
Just
will-
want to let you all
We
know.
will not keep you long, Dr. Lynch. Moving on to reports from trustees, Mr. Luna, BOCES liaison.
Okay, so this will be a pretty short report. For those who are not familiar, BOCES is the Board of Cooperative Education Services. All 56 districts in Nassau County are members of BOCES, and the real goal of BOCES is to allow districts to share the expense of certain services. BOCES provides services for special education, vocational training, and other services. BOCES currently is in the process of working through its budgets for the upcoming year. Each district that's a member of BOCES has one board member that serves as a representative to BOCES to be a part of that budgeting process, and I'm involved in that process. We had our first meeting 2 weeks ago. It was really just an orientation meeting to set the stage for the upcoming processes. There's another meeting tomorrow and then one 2 weeks from now. So at the next meeting, I should have more to report on that.
Thank you, Mr. Lunar. Regarding the policy committee, Mr. Murray had mentioned at the December meeting, we have several first readings tonight. There's a packet in the back of the room of those items. Does anybody on the board have any comments regarding the readings? If there are no comments or changes, there will be a second reading and adoption of those policies at our February meeting. PTA liaison report, Ms. Argona.
So the PTA Council would like to remind and invite everyone to their annual Founders Day, which will be held on Monday, February 13th at Lynbrook High School at 7 p.m. This event serves to commemorate the PTA and recognize individuals within our schools and community whose contributions have impacted our schools and students. Honorees are celebrated throughout the night with speeches and awards. This year, in addition to the Honorary Life Membership and the Distinguished Service Awards, the Diamond Award will be presented for the first time ever. Please come and join the PTA Council as they honor Dr. Burak with the first ever Diamond Award for her commitment and dedication to the Lynbrook schools. Congratulations to all the recipients and especially to Dr. Burak for receiving this special award.
So may I just say, so thank you, PTA Council. You know we meet regularly throughout the year. We've been doing it for 11 years as superintendent, but I've actually been doing it longer than all of you for 22 years sitting in the PTA Council room meeting, and I call you my think tank, right? My, I bounce everything off of you. It has been an absolute pleasure working with you. It's always a partnership, working together with you. Good, bad, ugly, pretty, whatever it is, we hash out everything for the good of the students, and it has been my honor to work with you as we keep trying to make Lynbrook better than it is tomorrow, than it was yesterday. So I thank you so much for this lovely award. Thank you.
If nothing else from the board members, we'll move over to old business. Dr. Lynch, the food committee update.
So we're going to just test that theory of togetherness on this one, right? So the Food Committee has been meeting to discuss the possibility or feasibility of an elementary lunch program. So I'm now reporting out to the board some of the stuff the Food Committee is already well aware of, but I just want to start with a little bit of history so we know where this came from, because it's been a discussion for a little while. So the discussion actually began in 2017, and it began in the PTA council room, where there was concern for the growing number of free and reduced kids in the district and how meals would be provided for those kids. So we took it to the Food Committee in October of 2017, and we began the discussions about what would an elementary school program look like. We started to get people to examine the kitchens. We started to get them to look at the whole cafeteria structures. And we decided that it was kind of a pretty big deal since we don't have, we're not set up for it, to be quite honest. That's not the old buildings that don't necessarily have that capacity. Then in addition, a large issue that was raised, this is back in 2017, we knew that it would have a large impact on PTA's ability to raise funds. And the reason that is because once you have a food contractor who's providing meals, the PTA meals become what's called a competitive meal. So you cannot sell a meal against a contract without being in violation of contract. So that was something we knew was going to be a big deal, and we started those discussions back then. We went to Food Committee, we started the discussions, and we kind of said at that point, well, you know what? We have a major bid coming up in 2020 anyway. So why don't we do our feasibility, do our due diligence, and in the 2020 RFP, let's hash it out at that point. We're going to start to recognize this time limit. In October of 2019, we began the discussions again. There was a pile of paper in my office, and I call it my archaeology pile, and it was everything that was before COVID and everything that was after COVID. And when I was cleaning my office, I found the last set of notes from the Food Committee meeting, which would have met the week before shutdown. And on that topic at that time was elementary lunch program. The world shuts down in March of 2020, and what happens is we begin to give free meals to all. It started right out here at Lynbrook High School, and we were distributing them to basically anyone who wanted them at that point. We then came back after the initial lockdown, and we initiated regular service again, and meals were free for all of our middle school and high school kids. We could not provide that benefit to anyone in the elementary school because we didn't have programs there. This kind of got on people's radar because, quite frankly, there were people who were teaching in other districts that said, hey, you know what? Everybody's getting a free meal. Why aren't we doing it in Lynbrook? The reason was simple. We didn't have recognized sites at that time, didn't have the ability to pursue that program. So we come back from COVID, and it is now time to start that discussion again. We started the discussion last year with the Food Committee, and we expanded it. We decided to let, it used to only be, actually, Food Committee used to be a middle school parent sitting around discussing how good or bad the menu was that month. We now expanded it to the everybody, and the room blossomed to about 20 people or so. We had spoken to our incumbent vendor, who is Aramark, and they thought that they could really put together a program this year where they could do a pilot program where PTA could continue to sell and we could continue to taste the meal and see how it went. Once we got into the thick of it with contract discussions and the cost of equipment to set up that program, we realized that the pilot was not necessarily feasible. Not that it's off the table at this point, but I believe I reported that to the board in October, that it was looking less and less likely, and reported that to the Food Committee. So we're at the point now where we're getting ready for the real bid. The real bid is coming out in June of 2023. And if we want to include an elementary lunch program, we'd kind of need to start to gear up. Not tonight, we don't have to make the decision tonight, but we have to start to gear up for what that bid would look like. What can we put inside a bid? We can put things like food quality. So we could say the only meat that can be served is boar's head. The only yogurt that can be served is Chobani. Those are all things that can be built into the bid. But in addition, there is a capital outlay that would need to be done on the part of the district. So as I mentioned before, we don't really have the equipment in place because we can't just, my great hope, I was very naive here. I thought we could make a couple of sandwiches, put them on a table and call it a day. You can't do that. You need to have the proper steam tables, cold tables. Department of Health is coming in, 3-compartment sink. It has to be all on the up and up. So that will require I have quotes sitting in my office right now for about $150,000 for what the cost of that equipment is. So the reason I'm bringing this up tonight is that we would need to make a proposition to the people to say one of our equipment purposes, one of our interfund transfers, that would be part of the budget, not a separate proposition, but part of the budget, would be to vote $250,000, would get a harder estimate by March, to take that to be an interfund transfer from the general fund into the capital fund, and then the capital fund would ready the kitchens, and then we would do a bid to get the program in place. The negative side is that greatly impacts PTA's ability to use food as a fundraiser. Not saying that they can't fundraise, but the sale of meals, I'm talking around special lunch is what I'm really talking about. Special lunch, as we know it, becomes a very different reality. So that is what I took the food committee, and I have to say that to be honest of what my impression of the committee is, it's very divided, with people very much for a program and people who want to preserve special lunch and all that has to offer. So I hope, I see members of the food committee out there. I think hopefully, if I've missed anything, feel free to bring it up at the microphone later, but that's my summary of kind of where we're at. So as I mentioned, the food committee at our last meeting, they are advisory. They are representing the PTA for the most part. This is a board-level decision because it impacts the all and every kid. So that's kind of where we were with the food committee. So I'm open to any questions you have at this time. Mrs. Aragona?
So when you do the contract for this, how long is the contract for?
Excellent question. So you do a bid that is renewable for 5 years. By mutual consent, it's renewed each year. We could get out and do a bid in 1 year. That's no problem. But generally what you do is, because the company has to establish itself, hire workers, we generally let it run for 4 or 5 years, but it need not be that way. So it's a year-to-year contract that actually you folks approve every July at reorganization.
So if we were to move forward with this, and I know we're putting out a lot of money for equipment, and God forbid 4 or 5 years, we see that maybe we're not utilizing it, or we could not maybe extend the contract?
That could be another decision that you make, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just think it's important to note also, you spoke about the free meals that were offered. There's something with the School Board Association now that they're lobbying for free meals going forward in the state for all students. So if that's something, I don't know, that's something they're lobbying for this year. If that's something that does come to fruition and we don't do this, then we will be behind again, and people will be looking like, hey, our neighboring districts are offering food. So I don't know, something to consider.
And if I could add something to that, because I want to make sure the record is clear on something. So we do provide free meals in our elementary schools right now, but I have to say it's not to every free and reduced kid. So what we do is no kid goes hungry in Lynbrook. That's just our rule, is that if a kid shows up without a lunch, we're supplying a lunch. That's just the way it happens. But at the same point, that doesn't mean that every kid that deserves a free meal through the free and reduced brunch program is getting that meal. It's just the kids who are not coming with lunch. And really the way we book them on the accounting side of the house is as emergency meals. That number has grown. I just think post-COVID, we used to be doing about maybe 2, 3 a day, and now clearly at some schools it's up to 10 to 12 a day. So that's just a reality.
I mean, as a teacher, it's just an interesting, looking last year at my own class when there was free lunch, pretty much most students ate the lunch every day. I would say on I teach kindergarten, but any given day, I would say about 2 children buy lunch per day. And on Pizza Fridays, maybe 5. But most of all, I mean, maybe because I teach younger children and they're pickier with what they eat possibly, but it's not that. So I don't know. It could go either way, but I don't think any child should go hungry.
So, Dr. Lynch, I had two questions. First, you talked about somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 in equipment costs. Would there be any other additional construction or capital outlays required to have those very small cafeterias in our elementary schools capable of having a food line beyond the equipment? And then the second one would be, and it kind of goes along with what Mr. Nino was saying, if the contractor is not making money because the lunches aren't being purchased, if the quality isn't good or whatever it might be, does that leave the district on the hook for anything? That's just, you might not have the answer now, but that's something that I think we would need to
I can
consider.
actually address both questions. So I think you probably saw Mr. Sater shiver there. So I threw out an equipment number. You've all been in our elementary schools. You can picture, if you picture Marion Street, the old rifle range, you have that in your head right now. If you're in West End, you can picture what that looks right now. So really what we would do now is, depending on the direction you give us tonight, Mr. Sater would reach out to our district architect. He would take a look at those rooms. Now, we happen to have the advantage of redoing the Marion Street cafeteria this summer anyway, so some of that work is going to kind of be pre-done in that. But that's not necessarily doesn't mean that West End wouldn't need more work or something like that. Or even, ironically, Waverly Park, which has a fully functioning kitchen, but no place for the children to eat except the gymnasium, so you have to roll tables in and roll them out. So it does create, there's some logistical things, but as I see all my friends, the principals in the back, I think to a person, all of them would respond, but that's my job. And my job is to say, if we're going to offer lunch to kids, they will offer lunch to kids, and they will make it happen because that's what they do for a living. And then the second thing about what the district is on the hook for. So the contract's a state-approved contract. So it actually comes pre-form. We have no options, and the state approves it. So there's many protections in there for the loss of money on the service of food itself. If anything, there are places where we can build in a guaranteed return or a guaranteed loss on the part of the district. So that is literally in the contract language to say, we are going to go, I'll tell you what our current contract is right now. We say to Aramark, we are not investing any more than $5,000 into this program. And you see me on that slide every year say, there's $5,000 that's going to the lunch fund. And that's what it has been since, certainly you were in the seat. So that's kind of what it's been. So that protects us on that side. But yes, if we buy a van, that would be the other big cost here, to move the food around. That would be another cost that probably has not been anticipated.
And just for comparison, the school I teach in is similar in size to Waverly Park, where my child goes and all my children have gone. And we used to sell lunch just like, goes on. And the PTA was really worried in my school how they were going to make up the money. And as a former PTA president, they have made up the money, and they sell snacks after school. They've come up with some creative ways, and the PTA is thriving in my school, and sometimes doesn't know what to do with their money. So, as was said at our morning meeting this morning, the PTA wants to do some things for the teachers. So, they definitely have found other creative ways to fundraise.
Dr. Lynch, do we know what percentage of the districts in Nassau County have this type of program?
I just did a recent survey of my colleagues, and we are definitely in the minority of people that are not offering an elementary lunch.
And to just understand the historical perspective, the reason for a program like this is because, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we want to make sure that, well, not want to make sure, we have students coming to school with either not having lunch because of whatever issues they might have, where it's financial challenges or just a difficulty with their families. They're either not getting lunch when they come to school, or they have a very unhealthy lunch. And a program like this ensures us that every kid in our district will have the opportunity to have a healthy meal.
Correct. Just breakfast. We currently serve breakfast at our middle schools. It's not a big seller. That's just a fact. But we serve it at the middle schools. We actually get more takers here than we do at the middle schools. So yes, I don't know whether we would start with the breakfast program at the elementary schools, but that's exactly the stuff that we need to discuss.
Anything else on the board?
Dr. Lynch, with respect to the quality of the food, because I know that's one concern that's been raised, are there assurances in place that the quality would be suitable and it would be food that we would be happy to serve our kids as opposed to, substandard food?
So I promised one of the food committee members I would say these exact words. It's cafeteria food. And I think we all need to be very realistic about that. I don't want to promise something that I can't deliver to say you are getting filet mignon every day. That being said, we had a food tasting here last May, and I would say the kids, the food committee members brought their kids. They liked the parfaits. Surprise, surprise, they liked the chicken fingers. They liked certain things like that. So those things went over well. We have put food quality into our current middle schools that say that it is only Boar's Head. We have seen anecdotally, I don't have hard data for this for you, but I would say some people who are used to eating lunches at the middle schools would say the quality has gone up. You're going to also probably hear people come to the microphone tonight that say the quality is still no good. So that's just full disclosure. But we do currently have quality into the bid itself, and certainly we would continue that with, which we didn't used to have quality in the bid.
And we'd be bidding this out to other vendors other than the current vendor now, correct?
That's right. We say Aramark because, as Dr. Bjork will tell you, because we have an open campus here at the high school, we're pretty much a losing proposition for any food service company. So they're the only ones that bid on us. Whitson's came last time with a no-bid envelope. So we would hope, if we start to talk about expanding into an elementary program, do we become more attractive to other bidders? Most probably. But again, something I'm not going to promise tonight.
So, Dr. Lynn, I guess the consensus of the board is to continue to pursue this, continue to get us information regarding cost and feasibility. Is the board good with that? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lynch.
And then I will be continuing to keep the food the food policy committee will be impaneled, so you're still on the hooks.
Thank you, Alex. We have nothing under new business this evening, so we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Just a few more months, folks.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Okay, tonight's the big night. Project Liftoff, the announcement of the experiment that will be conducted on the International Space Station. Last month, we brought the 3 finalist teams and we recognized them at the board meeting. We did not ask them to come back tonight, the winning team, because they've already been notified that they are the winning team. But we have a very proud board member up here, because the team of Jack Murray and Aiden Michaels, and Mrs. Michaels is there, so congratulations. Their experiment of, and I don't know, I don't sleep at night. This is one of the things that keeps me up. I don't know about you, but how does microgravity and space conditions affect the growth of the wine cap mushroom? So congratulations, that is the winning team. Right now, the liftoff is slated for June 7th. So I did want to attend, but we have a district function on June 6th, so I cannot go attend. But the teams will be invited to the launch in Florida, and that will be an exciting event for them. So I thank Mr. Vasalago for organizing it. It was a major project in this district. Over 600 students were involved in it, science research, competition, and we have our winning experiment. Right now, we're currently engaged in the art patch competition, so by now all of the students in the district have received information on developing a patch, because we will also have a contest for that, and a winning art patch will go up to the International Space Stations too. So what an exciting project for the district. And actually Newsday picked up on this, so you'll be seeing an article in Newsday about Lynbrook's involvement in this shortly. Empire State Press Association Awards. We have a phenomenal newspaper in this district. We are a winning newspaper, and I'm very proud. Again, they do not disappoint. They attended this year's Empire State Awards, and guess what? Guess who won the best overall newspaper? The Horizon. Yeah. And now some of these other awards have been won by students who already graduated. So I'm just going to list the awards. We won for Best Artwork, Best Illustration and Graphic, Best Written Work in a Newspaper, Best Editorial, Best Feature Story, and Best Sports Story. Now, those are big categories, so congratulations to the entire Horizon staff for another job well done. And now curriculum update. Dr. Belekas.
Thank you, Dr. Bierak. Each year we receive grants under Titles 1 through 4 from the federal government. Over the past few years, we've been spending our funds to increase and coordinate our student support services. This year, Title I funds have supported a social worker and a psychologist. Titles 2 and 4 support our director of guidance. And finally, Title III supports our K through 12 E&L chairperson. During COVID, actually, the district received various grants with titles including the acronyms ESSER, GEAR, and ARP. These grants have provided both direct and indirect supports to our students. Some of the direct supports include additional reading, speech, special ed, psychologists, social workers, and guidance staff, the BOCES Central Nassau Guidance Program, the ESY program, the E&L After School program, the SEL breakfast support in the middle schools, and the WISE OWL Alternative High School program. Indirect supports include professional development for teachers in the areas of reading, SEL, and best instructional practices. The ESSER and GEAR grants actually end this school year, and any supports requiring recurring costs will actually be discussed during the upcoming budget presentation. That's what's on the agenda right now, but the other thing I'd just like to share, the Assessment Weighting Grading Commission had its second meeting on December 13th. We broke the attending group into two and discussed the goals for assessing our students. During our next meeting, which is next week on January 17th, we hope to finalize these goals, and we will begin examining our grading practices department by department. Syllabi from each of the individual courses will be reviewed for consistency in assessment, weighting, and grading practices. Thank you.
And capital projects update?
So I know the big news that Mr. Belmont is waiting for is there will be pickleball at Waverly Park. The court project has been awarded last month, and we are expecting to begin the project in the spring. Planning the high school library project will begin in the spring, and it does look like the projects are moving for the North Turf Field and the Marion Street Turf Field and playground renovation are moving well through state ed. So we do think that it's going to come out. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Seda.
Lynch. And just one more thing, in case you haven't noticed, I have a passion for the sciences and how I promote all things that we do that are STEM and STEAM related. So I just want you to share this information with you in case you're interested. I'm on a number of listservs, so I receive a number of emails. The Long Island STEM Hub and actually the Cradle of Aviation. Cradle of Aviation is a gem on Long Island. If you haven't taken your child there just to see what it has to offer, it's an absolute gem. But if you would like to explore different careers with your child, they are hosting career conversations. Let's Talk Technology, and it's hosted by NYIT, and they're on Saturdays, so I just throw these out to you, and you can go to the Cradle Ovation website and find out anything additional that you may wish to. But January 21st, it's Careers in Technology. February 11th, Manufacturing. March 25th, Energy. April 1st, Aviation. April 22nd, Life and Environmental Science. May 13th, Engineering, and June 3rd, Healthcare. So if you want to explore careers with your children, please feel free to take a look at that. I just share that information with you. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Burek. At this time, we'll move to public comment. I guess it's messing up. I got you. We'll move to public comment. If anyone would like to address the board, please come to the microphone, identify yourself, and indicate if you live in or out of district.
All everyone. I'm Sharmeen Hakim. I hold a doctorate in education from Teachers College at Columbia University.
And my name is Stephanie Alberts, and we are the co-presidents at Marion Street PTA.
We're here to make a statement on behalf of Marion Street PTA regarding the school lunch program. First, we'd like to thank you, Dr. Lynch, for this evening's program update, your appointment, and for answering our questions over the years about the food program. So Marion Street PTA has been restructuring their budget and fundraising for the past 5 years to be less reliant on food sales in anticipation that we might have a school lunch program. Working with the district to subsidize our assembly's budget would help us greatly if the food program does go out to bid. And our executive board is continuing to explore different types of fundraising that we can do to make up the difference in cost. We've had a few meetings with our parents to discuss the possibility of a school lunch program, with our most recent meeting this past Monday, and we'd like to share some of our parents' thoughts and questions with you. A lot of it was discussed earlier, but we're just going to go ahead and read what we prepared. Parents who've attended our meetings have overwhelmingly expressed an interest in having the option to purchase an affordable school lunch up to 5 days per week. We've had parents tell us that they were upset that they lost out on 2 years of free lunch during COVID because our elementary schools were not part of the National Lunch Program. While our parents enjoy having the opportunity to buy special lunch once a week, we've had parents tell us that this is also expensive for some of them. And special lunch was designed to address the fact that the elementary schools were not part of the National Food Program, but it wasn't meant to be a replacement for having a National Lunch Program. Questions came up about how children on free and reduced lunch are supported, and parents asked if the district was able to accommodate every child who's eligible free and reduced lunch. And it was our understanding, which was confirmed tonight, that really only the neediest are supported. And this means that there's families going without whose children would get food if they were in another district that had this program. It's not equitable, and being a part of the National Food Program, would allow our kids who are eligible for free and reduced lunch to have access to food. This is also in line with New York State PTA's stance on food insecurity. New York State PTA is currently in Albany advocating for free lunch for all children. But to be a part of this, our elementary schools would have to be enrolled in the National Lunch Program.
We share the concern, and so do our parents, about the quality of the food. Our parents recognize that the food provided will not be the quality of special lunch or restaurant quality, but rather school lunch quality. And many of us have children in middle school and know that our kids feel that the lunch served at the middle school may not be up to par. But for this program to succeed, we believe that the food committee would need to stay on top of food quality issues. In our discussion, we also wondered if the board would be open to surveying the community. This would allow you to hear from everyone, not just those that attend PTA meetings or board meetings. There are also many young families who have moved to the district that don't have children in this district, not realizing that Lynbrook currently does not have a school lunch program in the elementary schools, and those people may want to voice their opinions as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Julia Bachman, elementary school resident, speaking just as a parent with my parent hat on today, but of course I wanted to congratulate Dr. Burak. Job well done, and thank you for everything. And congratulations to Dr. Lynch. So Dr. Lynch made the promise to me about the cafeteria quality food that he would say that today. And I'm on the food committee, but I just wanted to address, just to fill in some of the gaps, because there's only so much Dr. Lynch can say in this presentation. But I'm just speaking as a parent. I don't want to, I've already told Dr. Lynch at the West End PTA meetings what's been said. So my personal concerns are twofold. There's an issue about the culture of the elementary schools, and then also, coming at this from a different perspective, for different reasons, I worry about the kids who have the least in our district, and I'll get to that in a second. So culturally, I think everyone, certainly the board members here, you're doing this, on your own time for free because you want school to be an exciting and fun place, and you want your all of our kids in the district to want to go to school every day. So the current culture in elementary schools, it's fun and it's exciting, and the PTA pays for a lot of what makes it fun and exciting. So Dr. Lynch and I discussed, and if food program were to be implemented in the elementary school buildings, the PTA would be coming to you to ask for some of that funding that the PTA currently pays for, that would be addressed in the budget, because we would not have those funds any longer. So we have several line items. I don't think you need to go through line by line tonight, but it's not just the assemblies. There are the PARP week, Pick a Reading Partner week, where we have an author visit. Every student gets a free book. There's Safety Week speakers. So there's bike safety, trick-or-treating safety, the Health and Wellness Week, where we have yoga and mindfulness instructors come in, where we have allergy awareness presentations. Pre-COVID, we did gardening so that the kids could understand and experience, harvesting, preparing their own free healthy meals. PTA also sends funds to supplement for some of the field trips so that the cost is not as exorbitant as it otherwise would be. The 4th grade in-school field trip, the Earth Balloon Planting Day. We also do give funds for the specialist teachers for their supplies, and also school night events like math night. So those are all things that currently the PTA pays for that we would be asking to be included in future budgets should an elementary school food program be implemented. And then there will be other things, that wouldn't fit the curriculum criteria, right? So field day right now, our PTA pays for the team T-shirts. They pay for the staff and for every single student to have their a free lunch. Things such as 5th grade yearbook and 5th grade picnic, 1st grade orientation, field trip T-shirts complimentary for all new students, carnival. So, those would be gaps where we need to fill in and figure out, how much we can afford. And, we've already, in terms of, finding other fundraising, we went through that 2 years ago with COVID, right? When we did not have, there was no special lunch in the building. And it's difficult. It is a difficult challenge. 2 years ago, we did have other fundraising, and, you make $200 here, you make $300 there. It didn't make up for the gaps in our budget. But also, I wanted to address the kids who have the least. Because PTA provides for all students, that means no child is left out. And that's something also to consider. So therefore, there's, for the 4th grade in-school field trip, everyone is showing up because everyone can afford it. The yearbook also, everyone gets a yearbook. And other activities. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind, that if that's the route we're going, we're going to be asking for more funding. So thank you very much. Yes?
I guess excluding COVID, how much money typically would the West End PTA raise in a year?
So, so our budget this year let's say it's $52,000 total for amount raised.
And what percentage of that comes from the special lunches?
About half. So what I just listed out for you, the extras where we would be asking for it to be part of the budget. So my back of the envelope math on that would be about $31,000 from our one building per year.
Right, but of the 52,000 that you're budgeting for the PTA that they're raising, so you're saying budgeting, but your budgeting is based on your raising. Half of that comes from special lunches. And where's the other half come from?
From other fundraising.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay.
That was it. Thank you.
I got it. Thank you.
Hi, congratulations to you both. My name's Allison Kelly. I have 3 children in the district, one at the kindergarten center, one at Marion Street, and one at South Middle School. I'm here to speak in favor of the lunch program. All the reasons you mentioned last year about why we didn't have a lunch program are all the reasons I heard. But luckily, I have experience in this area. I am a current teacher in the Syosset School District. And we did not have a lunch program until 2019. The reasons were very similar to Lynbrook as to why we did not have one. Syosset did not have a working cafeteria in any of their elementary schools, and they offered special lunch 5 days a week. The PTA relied heavily on this as well, just like you mentioned. However, they were told by their Board of Ed, find another way to fundraise, and I'm happy to report, just like in your school, they did, and Syosset is doing well. In 2019, Aramark was brought into the elementary schools, and it has been a game changer for all of our youngest children since. For those of you currently against a lunch program that will offer students possibly breakfast and lunch 5 days a week, I will tell you about the benefits I have seen working every day with 6-year-olds. My students are never hungry. They buy breakfast if they don't eat at home, snacks during the day, and lunch. If students come crying off the bus, they forgot their lunch, their parents aren't home to bring it, I tell them, why are you crying? You'll just buy lunch today. Just recently, I had a child, he eats breakfast every day, lunch every day, snacks every day, and I said, no wonder why your parents told me you're never hungry for dinner, and his response was, this food is better than his parents' food. So we have to remember this is a school community, and we have to do what's right for all children, not just our own. I do have a 7th grader at South Middle School who refuses to eat the lunch. If you ask her how the food is, she tells you it's disgusting. If you ask her if she actually ever tried it, she will say no. So I told her to survey all of her friends, and she told me, Mom, none of them tried it, and none of them will. When they went to their 6th grade orientation, the 8th grade students told them that was the first thing they said, do not try the lunch, do not eat the lunch, and what preteen wouldn't actually listen to them. I did do some research in my school that uses Aramark. Unlike your class, I have 20 kids, 12 of them eat lunch every single day. We currently have 399 students in grades K through 5. 220 lunches are sold daily, 15 breakfasts and a few snacks throughout the day. That means more than half of my school is eating lunch for $2.90 and breakfast for $1. I do have 2 questions for the board, which you did answer. If an elementary school student is to forget their lunch and nobody can bring it up, how do they eat? I know prior to 2019, my kids were given a few saltine crackers and sent back to class hungry. My other question is, my husband and his brothers did go through the Lynbrook School District, so 40 years there was no lunch program then, and I'm surprised in 2023 there's none now. So my question is, what is keeping the district from making sure that every child does not go hungry? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gina Lee. I am a resident of the district, and I have 2 daughters. It's okay. 2 daughters in Marion Street Elementary School. First, just want to say thank you so much to Dr. Burak, and congratulations, Dr. Lynch. I'm very, very excited. So I just wanted to come up to actually show my support for the lunch program. I have a ton of reasons. I'm going to try to talk quick so that I can not be up here forever. But the very first and most important reason, I think, is that we really are leaving out our youngest and most vulnerable population when it comes to being fed by not having lunch in the elementary schools. From everything I researched, it looks like 1 in 7 kids suffer from food insecurity, which I know is based off of averages, but we honestly cannot deny that it's not happening here in our district, and there are kids that truly need this program. By not having a lunch program in our elementary schools, we're not making sure that all of our children in this district have an opportunity to eat a hot meal Monday through Friday. I think as a district, we need to ensure that all children are represented here, not just the high schoolers and the middle schools. And let's be honest, I think honestly, the elementary schools are probably the ones who need it the most. They're the ones that really feel the hunger. It's the little ones that feel it in a big way, and they're probably gonna be the ones who are gonna eat it the most out of all the kids between high school and middle school. I know quality has come up. It's obviously a concern for myself. I don't think anybody wants a school program that's serving mystery meat or mushy peas like we used to think of when you think of a lunch program from when we were growing up. But as a member of the food committee, we've seen that the food has greatly improved in Aramark since Chef Chad came on at some point in 2022. I know that he continues to make improvements and additions and changes that continue to improve the quality of the food. But even if it stayed the same, and I know that we said if we add the elementary schools into the bid, there's even a chance that we could possibly bring in another company or improve the quality of the food. But even if it stays as it is, I know that the tasting we had in May, everyone that was there, which was a mix of parents and kids from the district, everyone seemed really happy from it, including my daughter Ella. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah.
What are you going to say?
In May, I went to the food tasting thing, and I tried pizza, chicken nuggets, tater tots, the turkey sandwich, which was one of my favorites, and the yogurt parfait, and I really liked it. And since I'm getting sick of my mom's lunches,
And I'm getting sick of making you lunch, so, yeah.
I would like to have that in school every day.
Thank you, thank you. So I think that, like somebody said, and I think Dr. Lynch, you said this, like, we need to level set that it's not going to be restaurant quality food. I don't think anywhere in this country on a public school level where they're serving restaurant quality food, but the school quality of the food here has vastly improved. So I also think it's important to note, which actually that was said already, that the middle school kids, they aren't maybe the best to take their word from, since they really are at this level of peer pressure and self-awareness that they're really going to do what their peers are doing, where I don't really think that's the same in elementary schools. Like, you're coming and you're eating and you're not really thinking about it. You do see it a little bit in the 5th graders when it comes to fruit cart, where they actually have to get up. Like, our 1st through 4th graders jump up for fruit cart, and they'll come spend their $1 on a yogurt or cheese stick, where you see the hesitation in that 5th grade class, because they are starting to get to that age of being, thinking about what's cool and not cool, and worrying what their peers think. So I think that generally the elementary school kids will be super excited. I volunteer for special lunch, and the kids love it, and I don't think they love it because necessarily it's the food that they're eating, but I think they love it because it's something different from the packed lunches that they're having every single day. So to have special lunch 5 days a week, a different lunch served, I think would be super exciting for them, and I do think the majority of these kids will eat it. But to be able to offer an affordable lunch to every single child in the district is absolutely something that we should be doing. With the district continuing to change, the economy not being the best, and people really struggling with the cost of groceries, every single family, no matter the income level or situation, should be able to send their kid into school and receive affordable, reduced, or free lunch, and possibly even breakfast. Not to mention, we know that the kids that go to school hungry are not learning as well as people who are coming to school fed. So having a breakfast in the school obviously would be great, but having lunch as well. We know that there are kids throughout the country, and I'm sure in this district, that the only hot, nutritious meal that they are receiving is from school. So the fact that we're not offering it to these younger kids, but they are getting it in the middle school and high school, I just think it's not something that it really is fair to all the kids in the district. So I looked at some of the menus at the elementary school levels in Syosset and Jericho, and there are other many grab-and-go options on these menus that are available every day. That is something that hopefully we would be able to have here. There's foods such as yogurt, fruit, hummus, bagels, all things offered every day. So if there are kids that did not like the hot meal offered, they still would have something that you really pretty much can't mess up. And by offering a program to these younger kids, we really are giving all the kids the option to have a hot lunch or have a lunch if they want it. And then the most important point, I guess, is if you don't want it, you still can continue to pack lunch like you are now. You don't have to participate in the program, but this is giving every opportunity for every family in the district to participate if they want to. And not to mention the 2 years of free lunch that we missed with COVID, and then like Mrs. Zanino said, that they're possibly going to be coming down the pike with another free lunch program. Once again, just the elementary schools would be missing out on it. So there are families that would be getting that benefit, but then other families in this district that would not be getting this benefit. Two more things quickly, just the assemblies. I know we touched on that. I don't think anyone wants to lose assemblies, but I know at one point we talked about possibly subsidizing those assemblies so that schools wouldn't be missing out. But I know, like our PTA president said, that Marion Street back in 2017 really worked the budget so that we were balanced and able to continue with all the different programs that we have by working in new fundraising and different creative ways to raise funds. And I think that we really can work hard, even as a community, as in elementary schools, the 3 elementary schools, even together can come up with ideas to fundraise together so that we as elementary schools across the board are not losing out on anything. And adding new fundraisers also give parents an opportunity to volunteer. So losing that volunteer opportunity with special lunch, you can make up for that with new fundraising opportunities, which will allow parents to come volunteer. Although at Marion Street, we do struggle sometimes to find enough volunteers just for special lunch once a week. It's really hard for parents to volunteer during the middle of the day, so I don't really think that we should be basing the volunteering thing. It should be really consideration for considering a lunch program or not. I think at the end of the day, we need to be looking at the district as a whole and what's best for every single kid in the district. Right now, we're leaving out a huge portion of our kids, and I think every single family should have the choice to decide whether they want to buy, or in some cases even receive a free lunch from school, or pack their own lunch if they want to. Right now, we are not giving our elementary school families the choice, and that is why I am all for having a lunch program in the elementary schools. Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Deirdre Hans. I'm a resident. I have a 4th grader at West End and a 7th grader at North. Congratulations, Dr. Lynch and Dr. Burak. So first and foremost, I want to acknowledge that our guidance department does a phenomenal job of ensuring that families at West End who are identified as food insecure do receive assistance as needed. This is always accomplished with great discretion and dignity, but as a PTA, we have been assured through the years that no family is turned away due to the fact that there are not hot lunch facilities in the elementary schools. I think this is something that the community should be aware of when considering the expansion of the lunch program. On a personal note, as it has been acknowledged by the Food Committee, adhering to a non-compete clause and thus eliminating activities such as special lunch and Pizza Fridays will be a significant blow to the culture of West End. These are not only time-honored traditions for our students, but a major fundraising force and volunteer opportunity for our PTA. These are a major source of fundraising revenue, and loss of these funds would, in turn, jeopardize other West End traditions such as welcome t-shirts for our 1st graders and graduation activities for our 5th graders. These are currently funded by the PTA so that every student can participate without regards to their family's ability to pay. While many, many other fundraisers have been offered through the years, none have come close to the success that we at West End have had with these. And that speaks to the fact that each school in our district has a different culture regarding traditions and particularly fundraising. And I respectfully ask that the board strongly considers each individual school's unique needs before making a costly blanket decision for all 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more comments from the community, moving on with the meeting. Okay.
Hi, thank you. My name is Nusha Balan. I have a 3rd grader at West End and a kindergartner right now. I just wanted to express a few concerns that I have about the program that was introduced at our PTA meeting. From what I understand, there is no guarantee that compliance for kids with allergies would be able to actually have a safe meal because not every vendor complies with allergy standards and safety. So that's one of my actually biggest concerns since I have a child with allergies. I know a lot of people in the district have children that cannot have anything that has been in a facility that has nuts and things like that. So I don't know if that's one of the things that has been raised, but that is a big concern, especially if we need to include all the kids and for this program to be very beneficial for all the kids. Right now, the special lunches that we have at West End make sure that they have options for kids with allergies, whether it's dairy, gluten, nut. So at least they can get a lunch, a hot meal in that way. As far as the food standards, from what I've heard so far at our West End PTA meeting, and I can only go by what I've heard from other parents and other students, the food in the middle school, I haven't heard anybody liking it or eating it. I've seen pictures of it. I would not feed that to my kid. So that is also another concern. If the kids are just gonna pay for chips and cookies, I don't consider that a healthy meal or something that has stayed under a burner for 4 hours to get served to our kids also probably will not be very appealing to them. So in terms of the food standards, I would just appeal if we can have a little bit higher food standards. I would love my kids to have the option to have a hot meal every day, but I would like that meal to be a safe meal and to be a good meal. I think we need to treat our children with respect in terms of the food that we're serving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Zambrano. I am a resident, born and raised in the district. I went to Marion Street School and I moved back here when I had my own family, and I now have a son in 2nd grade at Marion Street. And so as a mother, this issue is really near and dear to me, but especially I'm also a public health professional, and I've worked for the last decade with families who are food insecure. and I've worked in trying to improve access to nutrition programs and improve the overall quality of those programs. So I just want to come with a little bit of a different perspective, and I also really applaud the leadership of the Marion Street PTA and their advocacy for ensuring that all students in our districts have access to healthy school lunches. So, you know, the school lunch program is a critical program to reducing childhood hunger, and we actually have a dual crisis in this country of childhood hunger and childhood obesity, and they are linked directly. So the school lunch has to meet a certain standard, as you all know. We all know there's whole grains, there's lean proteins, low-fat dairy, fruits and vegetables. School special lunch is great. It's a great program. My son loves it. I volunteer. I'm going next week to give out chicken fingers. But when I give my son special lunch, like I sign him up, I still have to send him with his salad, his snack. I still purchase, you know, the milk, the 1% milk or the low-fat milk. So it's not a complete meal. That's not the same as a school lunch program. It's not meeting the USDA standards for school lunch. So we can't really compare the special lunch program that we have in our district to a school lunch program. The other thing is that, you know, I've been at the elementary school handing out lunch, and I know that not all children can access it, right? So for whatever reason, their families cannot purchase it or choose not to purchase it. And so I've seen children upset, crying, why can't I have the pasta or the pizza, right? It's not equitable, it's not fair. It's not fair to make our children feel special with a special restaurant quality lunch, and a child over here is crying because they have to eat the same Lunchable that their parents send with them every day, right? That's not equitable. So all children deserve a high quality, nutritious lunch. There's so much research on this. Like Dr. Lynch, a year ago I emailed you, I gave you a lot of research, so I hope you shared it with the board. I'm happy to share any research on this that you need to see, but the health benefits, the educational benefits that school lunch provides, not just for the children who receive reduced and free lunch, but for all children, there are benefits. And elementary age students, it's the perfect time to introduce them to new foods, fruits and vegetables. This is when they're developing those tastes. They need to be introduced and reintroduced to those foods, and it's going to increase their overall, the quality of their diet. There's the most interesting recent research that came out is that school lunch is the most nutritious meal a child will get compared to any food that they receive at home, restaurant food, or anything anywhere else. So if the food that, you know, we should not be happy with serving any of our children low quality food, right? Especially if this is the most nutritious meal that they're going to receive in a day. Like all students, our middle school, high school, everybody deserves high quality, nutritious food. And then the other thing that I would like to say about the elementary in particular, so we know there is a program called the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, if you're familiar with it, also known as WIC. That is a program for pregnant women, postpartum women, and children from age 0 to 5. That program specifically goes up until age 5 because the expectation is that a school lunch program will take over at the age of 5, and that child will be getting breakfast or lunch in their school district. In the case of Marion Street, in our Lynbrook School District, Marion Street, West End, Waverly, that's not the case, right? That's called a hunger cliff. They are dropping off, so if any child was in the WIC program, they are now not getting any kind of program to meet their nutritional needs. And because I am, you know, this is my work and this is what I do, when I went to orientation, first day of school, first grade, last year, I asked Mrs. Macchia, what do the families who qualify for free and reduced lunch do if we don't have a lunch program? And she told me that a packet gets mailed out to all families. They can fill it out. So you have to apply for free or reduced lunch. So if a family has not applied, I don't know how, you know, these families are being identified and being taken care of, supposedly. I don't know how, because if there's no lunch program, why would they apply? She told me they can apply and they'll get the carton of milk. That's what they'll get. So I've been hearing, you know, from West End parents, like, oh, nobody goes hungry, all children are taken care of. I don't know how that can be, because these families are not applying for free or reduced lunch, so they wouldn't be identifiable unless, like you said, Dr. Lynch, you know, they're showing up without lunch, they'll be taken care of. So there's many, many people falling through the cracks in our district. I don't know how this can be a divisive issue, really. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. I think if you knew in 2017, when you were having these conversations with the food committee, what was about to hit us in 2020, nobody could have predicted that, right? Like, nobody could have imagined the kind of emergency we were going to go through. So we cannot wait another 5 years or delay this, because we don't know what the next 5 years holds for us, right? We don't know what kind of, you know, there could be a natural disaster, another emergency, state of emergency for 2 years. We couldn't have imagined that, right? On a more positive note, more likely the legislators will get their act together and implement universal school meals. So that is something we don't want to miss out on. We will be paying for that through our tax dollars, and our children will not be getting the benefit of that program. So that makes absolutely no sense. So again, we need healthy, nutritious school meals to combat hunger and improve academic achievement and attendance, behavior, all of those, you know, very measurable things. If you can show me any like peer-reviewed research about assemblies improving those things, you know, I'm happy to look at that, but I don't see how we can compare, you know, getting a free t-shirt or participating in an assembly to, you know, children going hungry. So that's basically what I'm going to say about that, and I'm happy to share any additional research that you all might want to see.
Thank you.
Hello. Congratulations to both of you. My name is Michelle DeLuca, and I have 2 children at Marion Street. I just wanted to touch upon a few issues. First issue is we're talking about nutritious lunches. My kids love special lunch, but by no means in the imagination is that a healthy lunch. The second thing in concerns to allergies. I was the head of special lunch last year at Marion Street. I was going through 400 forms, processing them. A parent wrote a little note that luckily I saw. My child is highly allergic to sesame seeds. Can you please make sure the bagel place does not use the same knife when smearing their bagel with cream cheese? I do not think that that is fair, that is falling upon me, a parent in the district, to make sure that those allergy restrictions are being taken care of. And I think that it's kind of opening us up to some problems as well, that it's not the district and the school really taking care of it, that it's falling on me. The other point is I love all of these special events. I love Field Day, I love all of it. I can't feel comfortable opening up my son's drawer in his room that is stuffed with Marion Street t-shirts and Field Day t-shirts over the last 5 years, and know that my son has those shirts and possibly a kid is not coming to school at lunch because of it. And I hope everybody in this room feels the same way about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, congratulations. My name is Marie Walsh, and I have a student at Marion, a student at South, and high school. To speak about the food, both of my boys that are in the middle school and the high school are super picky. If it doesn't consist of mac and cheese and chicken nuggets and pizza, they're not eating it. Well, if you ask them, and I just texted my son, do you like the lunch? Because they buy lunch every single day. And my high schooler has the option to buy lunch outside of school, but he chooses to eat in school. So there are days that he says, I didn't really like it, but most times both of my boys always eat the lunch and they do like it. So I think the quality is there because they are very picky. Thank you.
Thank you. See no more comments, moving to,
Billy, you gotta go faster, Billy.
Just a special note of congrats.
just so you
to
know, this
Dr.
is the
Lynch.
last one.
Yes. I met Dr. Lynch back when he was known as Uncle Paul in 1981. I think he remembers the meeting more than I do. I just want to say congratulations. I thought the pinnacle of your career would be that Bye Bye Birdie play in 1988, but I guess somehow you...
Your parents forced you to go to.
I can't, yes, they did. I remember it, though. It was good. I just quickly want to point out, I think everyone knows this, and everyone expressed this, that you've got a real special person here. I've known him my whole life. He's been wise counsel to me and many of my family members for many years. And my grandfather, his father obviously, was one of the greatest men that I've ever known. And he kind of instilled values that are rare today, I think, in a lot of people. And I think you're going to get them in this district now. And I think you're going to be very happy with someone who really does care a whole lot about this district and the people in it. So, congratulations. Congratulations to you today.
Now, I know no one's going to try and follow that, so we can definitely move on. Sadly, we have two sympathy resolutions tonight. The first one is for Evelyn Solon. Whereas the members of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District have learned with sorrow the passing of Evelyn Solon, former employee in the Lynbrook School District. And whereas Evelyn Solon served as an elementary teacher at Waverly Park School for 21 years, from 1970 through 1991. And whereas the Board of Education is mindful of the contributions made to our district by Evelyn Solon during her years of service to our community, be it resolved that the Board of Education records its sorrow, its sympathy, and the esteem in which Evelyn Solon was held, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the family of Ms. Solon with the hope they will find solace and comfort in the rich heritage of good works for which she is remembered and revered. Our second sympathy resolution is for Elizabeth O'Donnell. Whereas the members of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District have learned with sorrow of the passing of Elizabeth O'Donnell, former employee of the Lynbrook School District, and whereas Elizabeth O'Donnell served as teacher, nurse at North Middle School for 16 years, from 1980 through 1994, and whereas the Board of Education is mindful of the contributions made to our district by Elizabeth O'Donnell during her years of service to our community, be it resolved that the Board of Education records its sorrow, its sympathy, and the esteem in which Elizabeth O'Donnell was held, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the family of Mrs. O'Donnell with the hope that they will find solace and comfort in the rich heritage of good works for which she is remembered and revered. We have two donations this evening. The board would like to gratefully accept and acknowledge the following donations: $750 from the Lynbrook South PTA for the John Halligan Ryan Stirring Assembly, and $1,500 in grants from Jovia Financial Credit Union for Waverly Park. Moving on to Superintendent's recommendations, I'd like to ask for consent agenda on resolutions 2301C1 through 2301C9, 2301N1 through 2301NC10, 2301G1 through 2301G37. May a motion, please? Mr. Argona, second, Mrs. Marcus. All in favor? May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Mr. Luna, second, Mr. Pileski. All in favor? In lieu of a work session on January 25th, the board will be meeting with members of the Joint Council of the PTA that evening. Our next board meeting will be on February 8th. I'm going to ask for a motion, please, to adjourn to go into executive session to discuss matters of personnel. Mr. Murray, second. Mr. Luna, all in favor? Thank you. Have a good evening. Everyone get home safe.